Hi, it's Kai. Number 10. Mega Lake. There are jokes made about the Sahara Desert in regards to just how hot it is and just how much sand there is. Lines like, "You have a better chance of finding water in the Sahara." But the Sahara wasn't always a desert. Beneath the sands of the Sahara Desert, researchers have discovered evidence of a prehistoric mega lake that was formed some 250,000 years ago. Long ago, the Nile River pushed through a lower channel near Wadi Tushka. It flooded the eastern Sahara, creating a lake that, at its highest level, covered more than 42,000 square miles. Geologists figured this out when they were researching radar findings with the Space Shuttle Radar Topography mission. Egypt's extreme aridity enhances the ability of radar to view distinct subsurface features. Buried channels can be detected as much as 50 feet below the surface of the desert. These lakes add to growing evidence of numerous early and middle Pliocene lakes across North Africa that could have supported human migration patterns, meaning at one time, it was very easy to find water in the Sahara, and people lived there because of it. Number 9. Nabta Stones. From a mystery of the natural sense to a mystery of the historical sense, we now look to the legendary Nabta Stones. When people lived near Nabta Playa in southern Egypt 9,000 to 6,000 years ago, the desert was a much different place. Remember how we talked about a mega lake being found? In fact, that area was known to have flooding every single year. With that amount of water at their disposal, people made their homes there, and cultures were born, including the Nabta. But what might surprise you, though, is that not only did they build a culture, they started expanding their reach through things like astronomy. They set up stones in a way that allowed them to map the stars and/or make their own calendars of sorts. These were the Nabta Stones. To be fair, it's still not entirely clear what the stones are pointing to or how the stone circle worked, but clearly it worked for the Nabta because they withstood the test of time. This is another case of life finds a way to not just survive in an area, but making a mark in it that stands for millennia. If other relics are found of them, it could give us a better look at just how advanced these people were. Number 8. Meteors and Craters. If you really think about it, the world has been bombarded with all kinds of space rocks throughout time. A great example of this is the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs. When's that one coming for us? While most of the time we do know when they'll hit, we don't always get to look at what remains for two major reasons. One, the impact from them can sometimes break apart beyond recognition. And two, the environment can weather them away and thus we can't examine them. But in the desert, say the Sahara Desert, it's a little bit easier to preserve things because nothing truly grows in the desert. So you can see the actual impact sites of major meteors hitting the ground. The 148-foot wide Camille crater in southwestern Egypt, for example, still indicates where an iron meteorite struck around 5,000 years ago. Just as important, though, you can still find fragments of those meteorites within the sands of the area. Fun fact, almost a fifth of all meteorites that have been recovered have come from the Sahara. This is because, on the sands, they stand out, often just waiting to be picked up. The only better place to go to get intact meteorites? Antarctica. So you tell me, would you rather search the scorching heat for these rocks or the cold? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're liking this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe buttons for more videos like these. Number 7. Libyan Desert Glass. In December of 1932, a man named Patrick Clayton, who worked for the Egyptian Geological Survey, was driving through the Sahara Desert near Libya when all of a sudden the sand didn't sound like sand. What should have been smoothness under his tires was something else. He got out of his truck and examined what it was. He was looking at a beautiful sheet of glass just under the surface of the sand. Thus was born the Libyan Desert Glass. This glass is believed to have come from a meteor impact that burned the sands of the area with such incredible heat that the entire area turned to glass. The search for this impact site has honestly been one of the biggest quests for the Sahara. Though it has not been found, the remnants of the glass have been discovered in unique places. When Howard Carter opened the tomb of Tutankhamun, he discovered in a piece of armor a jeweled scarab that was made of this desert glass. It's not likely the Egyptians knew or cared where the glass truly came from, but it made a great decoration for their fallen ruler, and so they used it. Should the impact site or even larger areas of this glass be found, it could be considered a major archaeological find. Number 6. Darnawa. Sadly, not all of what is hidden under the sands of the Sahara Desert are good things, because there's a lot of history in Africa that can quite literally be buried by the sands of time, literally and figuratively, and the village known as Darnawa is a great example of that. Why is this a not-so-good secret? Because this village was once a slave village, the slaves being the native Africans. Thousands of slaves were exploited to excavate an ingenious network of underground canals, or ketera. Some of the original stone-lined well shafts are still visible today. These were necessary in order to feed water to the bigger populated areas. This went on in Morocco for a while until eventually slavery was abolished and the now former slaves were given a chance to go home to the original countries or to stay in Morocco. But many stayed because the life of slavery was the only life they had known. Some of the remains of Darnawa include their homes, which were made of the most basic of materials in order to be built easily and also shield themselves from the heat. They would live in them until they had sustained too much damage, and then they would build a new one. Number 5. Whales. Yes, like actual whales. Don't worry, I'll explain how this is even remotely possible. Depending on how you look at things in terms of the forming of the world, there was a time when Africa was not only not where it is now, but had a very different geological makeup. So much so that at one time, there was an ocean of water where the Sahara now resides. Yes, I'm talking about water in the desert again. Stay with me. This may be a bit hard to swallow at first, but there is proof of this with bones and fossils that have been found within the sands. The Tethys Ocean, as it was known, was very hard to prove until a place called Whale Valley, yes, they called it that, started to turn up bones. Lots of them. The fossils here gave insights into how whales evolved from land-dwelling creatures to ones that spent their entire lives at sea. This is obviously a pretty important thing to go and know if you're trying to understand evolution, how life in an area shifts over time, and so on. These whales were huge, with some of their fossils apparently being 50 feet in length. As to what happened to them, as you might have guessed, the water went away, the land rose up, sediment and sand covered them up, and thus they were buried, until they weren't anymore. But the fossils that remain were being studied in earnest, and Whale Valley likely has a lot left to offer in terms of discoveries. Number 4. Lost fortresses. Satellites have allowed explorers to peer beneath the canopies of the most dense of jungles and really pierce the heart of the most inhospitable deserts, all without the bother of even leaving one seat. In 2010, satellites detected the remains of more than 100 fortresses belonging to the Garamantis people of Libya. The area had been well mapped by the oil industry searching for places to drill, so archaeologists were able to scan their satellite pictures for the telltale signs of walls. Later, researchers on the ground were able to confirm that the structures were indeed built by the people of Libya, though their expeditions were cut short by the revolution in Libya, which toppled Colonel Gaddafi. At the time, the Garamantes flourished, approximately the 2nd century BC to the 7th century AD. The area they lived in was already incredibly dry. They constructed underground channels that provided water from ancient reservoirs to farm their land. When this water source failed, the fields stopped growing, the people left, and the Sahara covered the remains of the fortresses and the villages. Number 3. Lost rivers. As we've already shown, the Sahara Desert wasn't always a desert. It had all sorts of waterworks that allowed people like the Nabta to survive until things shifted. So, not unlike what is going on with Mars in regards to trying to find water there, scientists have been trying to map out the Sahara Desert in order to find water, and the results have been fascinating. For example, once upon a time, the world's 12th largest drainage basin flowed from within the Sahara. This, at first, may not seem like much, given that it's the 12th largest thing. But recall that this is the biggest desert in the world right now, and this is only in the worldly sense. so being in the top 12 is still pretty impressive. This was only discovered when an undersea canyon was found off the coast and was realized by researchers to have been made by a river. The Lost River is now called the Tamanrasset River, and research is continuing to discover more about a body of water that may have dried up just 5,000 years ago. Should more details be given, we might just find answers to things that weren't known about for a long time. Plus, if this one river drainage basin is in the Sahara, who's to say that there isn't another one out there within the sands? Exactly. Number 2. Magmasaurus Rex. Since the Sahara was an ancient sea or ocean once upon a time, you might wonder what other kinds of creatures resided within it outside of your typical creatures like whales. To answer that, you need only look at some of the other fossils that have been found in this area, including the ancient crocodile known as the Magmasaurus Rex. Pop quiz. What is the longest length of crocodiles in the world today? That would be 21 feet by the saltwater crocodile. Why bring this up? That would be because the Magmasaurus Rex was 30 feet in length. It was the largest ocean-dwelling croc to have ever existed in our world. Based on the fossil record, scientists state that the Magmasaurus Rex had a huge head that it would use alongside incredible bite force to eat both fish and ocean turtles. They also believe that the Magmasaurus Rex was one to have lived in a lagoon-like area that connected itself to the ocean, showing that there's still a lot to learn about the area before all of its secrets are revealed. Number 1. Spinosaurus. How many of you remember Jurassic Park 3? Do you remember the dinosaur that was more feared than the T-Rex? That would be the Spinosaurus, the largest meat-eating dinosaur ever discovered. It lived over 95 million years ago. It was over 23 feet tall and 52 feet long. So why am I bringing this up? Simple. Originally, the first fossils of this creature were found during World War II, but were destroyed. Then another set was found in Morocco, in the Sahara Desert. Surprise! What's important about this is that when they looked at the fossils, they realized that the Spinosaurus might have been a semi-aquatic creature based on its feet and other attributes, which would have made it an even more deadly predator as it could go just about anywhere. Now do you understand why this creature was put into Jurassic Park 3? Thanks for watching. What do you think of these discoveries hidden in the Sahara? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. See you next time. Bye!